everybody. Thank you. So, as you guys might know, my name is Katie Anderson, and I'm a detransitioner. So this means that for a period of time, I identified myself as transgender, and I took hormones and had surgeries in a vain attempt to turn myself into a man. Now, when I was 18, I started identifying myself as a transgender male, an identity that I picked up through social media. And what I did when I was 18 was I went through what's called a social transition. I asked everyone in my life to call me by a boy's name and use male pronouns to refer to me. And after that, the next step was medical transition. So I went to my doctor and she referred me to a gender clinic to get a prescription for testosterone. That's the first step in medical transition, is hormone treatment. The gender clinic prescribed me testosterone after just a 45-minute appointment with them. So a lot of people think that anybody who's going to go through a medical transition for gender dysphoria, which is our diagnosis, it means discomfort with our biological sex, that we have to go through months, sometimes years of therapy, but that isn't true. It's technically a requirement, but that's not how it's enforced. So I was able to get testosterone with just a 45-minute appointment, and they gave me the approval for it. After about a year on testosterone, which is in the form of weekly self-injections, I felt it was time to have top surgery, which was a double mastectomy. When I told the gender clinic, they gave me the referral for insurance and the name of the surgeon all at the same time. So again, without having a therapist, I had my breasts removed surgically before I was even old enough to drink. A few years later, I started experiencing serious abdominal pain. It was so bad that I couldn't even stand up straight. I found out that the years of testosterone had had devastating effects on my reproductive organs. So bad that in the summer of 2020, when I was 24 years old, I had a hysterectomy to remove my uterus, cervix, fallopian tubes, and both ovaries, leaving me to grieve something that I will never understand. But I was still happy with my transition. I was uncomfortable with womanhood, and this was an escape. So I was happy with it for almost 7 years, until I just wasn't anymore. Until the regret crept in and pushed me so deep into a depression, that I thought it would be impossible for me to make it out alive. Now notice I said I was 18 when all of this began, and I was 24 by the time I had the hysterectomy. I was old enough to consent, and I was old enough to know better, and I was old enough to take responsibility. But I wasn't too old to be consumed by a false ideology. No one is too old for that. A common stance we hear on the right is that adults have the liberty to make their own decisions regarding so-called gender transition. But I didn't have liberty. I was a slave to my mental health disorders. I was not free from my confusion or my delusions to be able to make a life-altering decision like that. I came out of transgenderism broken, abused, and humiliated. Not only was my liberty undermined, but my consent, if we can even call it that, stuck the blame on me instead of on the doctors who solidified me in my confusion and then mutilated me for money. The GOP needs to fight this fight and win it. Transgenderism is not a matter of personal liberty. A person who wants to cut off his healthy body parts does not have the liberty to make that decision. He's hurting and needs help. Actual help. No matter what gender dysphoria might lead a person to believe, no one can change his sex. I was a woman going into surgery, and I was a woman coming out of surgery. My age or my consent didn't change that. If we can't even conserve the most basic understanding of human nature, and liberty for that matter, we have no right to call ourselves conservatives. The only way out of this mess is to unite as a party to protect the health and well-being of gender-confused people by revoking a doctor's right to solidify someone in their confusion and then surgically alter their body in an attempt to turn them into the opposite sex. We must first ban it for children and then ban it for adults as well. Until we grow a spine and call abuse what it is, we will lose every single time this issue comes up in politics. This is a winning issue for conservatives and a life-saving fight for people like me who get tangled up in such a dangerous ideology. Thank you everybody for inviting me out today, and I just want to end by saying that every person at your table probably knows somebody who is affected by gender ideology. I'm going to be floating around today, and if you want to talk to me about your loved one, you want advice, you want to tell me your story, just come find me. I'm open to hearing all of you guys, but I'm getting a time warning, so I gotta go. But thank you so much to everybody.